Hello, everyone.
Ipsum care, while you listen to this, your ears can't look elsewhere.
This month's show is dedicated to Time to Talk Day 2020, which is on Thursday the 6th of February all across the UK.
Hello listeners, in this month's show we have the usual mix of music, interviews and jolly japes. The first track we have for you this February is February by Barbara Dixon. Enjoy!
This is Andrew's Food Tips of the Month. This time I'm going to talk about a place on a dual carriageway next door to the Great Western Hospital. It's called the Spotted Cow. A few weeks back I went with a mate of mine called Paul up to the, we had both had something to eat there. The Spotted Cow is a brilliant place. It's good for families, and also the plates are massive. You get a lot for your money. And it's all done for you, of course, as well. And I had a mixed grill, and it tasted delicious. Sausage were really good, and other things like that. And it's good value for your money, and it's a nice place. Thank you.
And now on the Art and Soul Show, a country and western classic, the Dolly Parton hit Jolene. covered by Miley Cyrus, chosen by Colin.
That was Miley Cyrus's cover of Jolene by Dolly Parton. And just to show you that 105.5 has an eclectic range of music, we're now moving into Val Doonican, Delaney's Donkey.
Now Delaney had a donkey that everyone admired, temporarily lazy and permanently tired, a leg at every corner, balance in his head, and a tail to let you know which end he wanted to be fed. Riley slyly said we've underrated it, why not train it? Then they took a rag, they rubbed it, scrubbed it, they oiled and embricated it, got it at the post, and when the starter dropped the flag, there was Riley pushing it, shoving it, shushing it, Hogan, Logan and everyone in town lined up attacking it and shoving it and smacking it. They might as well have tried to push the town hall down. The donkey was eyeing them, openly defying them, winking, blinking and twisting out of place. Riley reversing it, everybody cursing it. The day Delaney's donkey ran the half-mile race, the muscles of the mighty never known to flinch, they couldn't move the donkey a quarter of an inch. Delaney lay exhausted, hanging round his throat, with a grip just like a Scotsman on a £5 note. Starter Carter, he lined it with the rest of them, when it saw them it was willing then. It raced up, braced up, ready for the best of them. They started off to cheer it, but it changed its mind again. And there was Riley, pushing it, shoving it, shushing it, Hogan, Logan and Mary Ann McGrath. She started poking it and grabbing it and choking it. It kicked her in the bustle and it laughed. He hee-ha. The Whigs and Conservatives, the radical superlatives, Liberals and Tories, they hurried to the place. Stood there in unity, helping the community. The day Delaney's donkey ran the half-mile race. The crowd began to cheer it, and Rafferty, the judge, he came up to a system, but still it wouldn't budge. And the jockey who was riding it, little John McGee, was so thoroughly disgusted that he went and had his tea. Hagen, Fagin were students of psychology, swore they'd shift him with some dynamite. They bought it, brought it, and without apology, the donkey gave a sneeze and blew the whole lot out of sight. And there was Riley, pushing it, shoving it, shushing it, Hogan, Logan, and all the bally crew. Police and auxiliary, the garrison artillery, the second in the Skillins and the lifeguards too. They seized it and harried it, they picked it up and carried it, cheered it, steered it to the winning place. Then the bookmakers drew aside, and they all committed suicide. The day Delaney's donkey won the half-mile race.
And now for something completely different. This is Sam and Dave and Soothe Me.
Soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me. Everybody, come on and clap your hand, will you? Just for me now. I like it like that. Soothe me, baby, soothe me, soothe me with your kindness. For you know your powerful love is soothing to me. One more time. Soothe me, baby, soothe me, soothe me with your kindness. For you know your powerful love is soothing to me. Come here. And how I used to remember, and how I used to roam. But all since I met this baby of mine, and all I do is say, everybody now, soothe me, baby, soothe me, soothe me with your kindness. For you know your powerful love is soothing to me. Now listen to me. I used to have a lot of girls, had them big and small. But since I met this baby of mine, I don't want no other girl at all. Soothe me, baby, soothe me, soothe me with your kindness. For you know your powerful love is soothing to me. Soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me, soothe me. Come on now, just do this again. That's it. Come on now, put your hands together. Everybody, come on now. Soothe me, soothe me, baby. You got to soothe me. Put it on my heart. Soothe me, soothe me.
Next up, the first of a three-part discussion with Ipsum director Julie focusing on Time to Talk Day, interspersed with Ipsum client music.
So this afternoon on the Art and Soul show, we are going to be talking about the Time to Talk Day, which is in 2 days' time, the 6th of February. And we thought here at Ipsum we would dedicate this part of the show to talking about the difficulties around talking about your mental health. So today in the studio is myself, Julie Mattinson, the director of Ipsum, and
Chris Haynes from the Early Intervention team.
And with us today, we've got 5 of our service users who are all men, and they've all willingly, bravely said that they would come in and let's talk about mental health.
Why do we find it so hard to talk about mental health?
I think that's a really good question.
Yes.
Because there is so much attached to that. It's quite a big question, isn't it?
Well, I think some people, when they try to talk about mental health, often don't get a good response. Maybe they just don't know how to deal with the problem carefully and tactfully, and maybe they start off by saying they called me mad or something like this, which is a colloquialism
Absolutely.
that goes back a good long while.
Yeah. The fear of being judged.
Like a lot of people get fear of self-worth, poor image of themselves, which, you know, it's you can have quite a good image of yourself and deal with your own mental health problems in your own way, with the help of the mental health teams and supporting charities. You don't have to see yourself purely and simply as someone that is a mentally ill person. There is more to you than that.
Do you think, though, that right at the beginning, though, how, if I can put this to all of you, how easy is it to actually accept that you need to tell somebody that you're struggling?
That's one of the hardest things, is actually recognising that you're having a problem and then looking at places to try and find people that you can speak to them about it. Sometimes you just try and ignore it more than anything else.
I believe so too. I believe that some people hide it and they don't want to let it out and they don't want to tell you anything.
Because you don't understand what's going on yourself. It's hard to find where you should go to approach people.
That's interesting. So it's where and who you be able to feel comfortable to talk to. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I could imagine that. I think particularly as you're saying in terms of response, because it actually might be quite a negative experience if someone gives you a response you don't really want to hear.
And that, again, that's where the judgment comes in, doesn't it? And if you're already feeling low, if you approach the wrong person, and it might not be that they're judging you, they might feel really awkward and think...
And have no patience, maybe.
Yeah, and I don't know, how do I respond to this person?
Yeah.
Because mental health isn't something that you can see. And I've said this before. If you walk into the room and you've got a broken arm, somebody will hold the door open for you going, "You all right? Do you want me to make you a cup of tea? Oh my God, are you in pain?" But you don't get that if you're struggling internally. No. So you have to be the one to say, "I'm struggling." But then there's the fear of, will they really understand me? And all of these negative thoughts will go on.
Well, I think you should try to get away from too many labels on yourself. Because labels, I think they might be very useful in prescribing medication and things like that for the doctors. They aren't particularly helpful for the sufferer always. Because a lot of people go through 2 or 3 different diagnoses, from depression to mental health to bipolar to schizophrenia, and all these different terms which get bandied around. And when it comes down to it, you're still you. You are you, and you've only aged some once, and you're still a person you were before you had the problem. You just need help, and you do have to accept that you need help.
I do believe that there should be more people out there for people with mental illness, like communicating, go in the right directions to get what they want, help to sort it out, and to socialise more, to get relaxed about it. Don't overdo it, and don't overreact and get carried away and feel like it's the end of the road for you. Things like that. I definitely believe that there should be more act on mental illness with people who can listen, who can be there for you, more people to approach you and things.
Just don't wait until you're desperate before reaching out.
I was going to say that can only happen once you're able to say, "I'm struggling." I'm struggling.
You might find out that you might get carried away with the problems, and it might make you go to the edge of the cliff and make you worried, and then you can go backwards a bit and realise that you should talk about it first before you take it too far.
It's often it takes a crisis, a dramatic event in your life, in order for you to actually make that move and reach out and find help. But from a personal perspective, there's so much help out there. You just have to reach out. There's lots of charities that help people. There's plenty of phone numbers. You just have to reach out. There's no point in saying there's nothing for me.
And I think that's what this is about. Really, is actually just what you're saying. Is actually to talk about this and think about what there is out there and reflect on what Swindon has.
Even though you say that, I do still think that there should be more people out there for people. To like meet up have a coffee and communicate and get over it and have a chat and see what can go on from there. There should be more people to pick through holes and get them out.
And I do think that I really do believe that Swindon is really leading the way with as a town is really starting to come forward with, especially with all of these campaigns, and a lot of the charities now have signed up to the Time to Change.
You've got Ipsum, you've got Twigs, you've got Mind.
Yeah.
There are lots out there.
Yeah, there's tons out there. It's just, when you're ready, you'll reach out. But if you're not ready, if you're into yourself, and if you're being ill, then
I just think there should be better systems out there for people.
I think it's interesting what you were saying about not letting things lead on to a crisis. To that point is to look at yourself, look at things before you get to that point. Is what I think this is a lot of this is about, to actually talk about things before you get to that.
But it doesn't work. The mind doesn't work.
No.
The mind is a very complicated thing.
Oh yeah.
It's very complex.
It is. It's complicated.
We tend to leave things.
If you're in a particular frame of mind, then you're not thinking about. You're thinking logically. You're thinking. You're thinking about being ill.
Yeah.
When you should be thinking about being well.
But also, can I put? That's a really interesting point. As soon as we have got a room full of men, how much is there around, I just need to do the stiff upper lip and I just need to get on with it, I need to pull myself together, which happens for a long time before there's any acceptance that, do you know what, I think I need to reach out.
There is a bit of that. There's also the fact that being groups of men, so say if you were down a local pub and you were in a darts team or something like that, even if you were to approach the subject, the only way that other people have of dealing with it is to make a joke out of it and have banter, because that's the way they've been brought up as well. There isn't an open conversation with regards to the mental health at the moment.
Well, it is possible that the people that you think are well are in a worse state than you're in. And when you think about people tipping booze down their throat and
self-medicating, absolutely.
Well, that's
a lot of that going on.
Who's well and who isn't.
Exactly. Like we were saying, you can't see mental health issues. Like you can see a broken leg, so you might assume that someone's is fine. When actually,
but that could be self-medication of a mental health problem that's hidden.
Could be.
And equally, do you see it as a weakness? If I say that I'm struggling, will I be deemed weak?
Yes, I think
can't
that's
manage.
a big factor. Is your strength, your inner strength. You should be able to cope with that, or you feel you should be able to cope with that.
You should be able to approach people in a workplace as well, and not feel that there's going to be stigma or effects to your future in a job. If you're working in an office, you should be able to go somewhere and speak to somebody without panicking that you might lose your job down the line because they don't know how to deal with it.
And I think on that point, do you think if you put on an application form that you had suffered a breakdown or you had in the past mental health issues, would you be reluctant to write that down for fear that would actually hinder you in actually getting the job?
I think it would depend on what kind of job I was going to, but I would definitely think about where I was applying and to whether I'd put that down or not.
But is it necessary to put down I was once ill?
It's
mental health
it's
issue?
not necessary. I don't think.
I think it's. Why have you got to sort of label yourself? I think if you're applying for a job, you've got qualifications. Well, you could say, well, I broke my leg once, or I didn't grow in toenail.
But employers should be completely open for you to be able to say, I did have a mental health issue in the past, without being discriminated against at all in terms of employment. But inevitably, there is always going to be that feeling. But just through my experience, I've found generally it's better to give some sort of, it doesn't have to be specific, but just some comment about you have had a mental health issue in the past, because if you do have problems in the future, I think it's seen that quite often employers are much more sympathetic. You say, I mentioned this to me, rather than it come out as a complete
it depends
revelation.
If you're like a really responsible job and it can affect your job.
Yes.
If you're a shop assistant, do you really need
I agree.
Nothing wrong being a shop assistant, but why have you got to emphasise the fact that once you had a mental health issue?
You have a choice. You have a choice, don't you?
Who doesn't get depressed? There's not one human being on this earth that doesn't get depressed.
The need for love and acceptance, to belong to no one, to share social life, shared history and a oneness of culture, of music and dance. the land that the people grow up on, the cities, the towns and the farms, our parents, our cousins, our brethren, our dreams, our hopes and our fears, with knowledge of variety and diversity, with people from all over the world, common people working with each other, respect, understanding and peace. Forget hatred, dissent and confusion, forget war and turmoil and sin, bring peace for our children and loved ones, for ourselves, each other and all. The need for love and acceptance, to belong, to know and to share, social life, shared history and a oneness of culture, of music and dance.
That was Ipsum client John Joe with his song A World of Peoples. And now we return to the discussion around Time to Talk Day with director Julie Mattinson.
We're doing this off the back of the fact that it is Time to Talk Day on the 6th of February. Do you think that that will highlight how important it is to talk to each other, to have more input with each other, not just how are you, because there's the ask twice.
That's what I was trying to explain
ask
earlier.
Twice,
I reckon there should be more systems out there, some kind of schedule for people to get listened, to people to be around you in a certain place you can go to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Better systems out there for those people who are there to take it in, to listen and just to be there more for you.
And
there should be
I
more people around.
Totally take that point, totally understand that point.
There should be more people on the earth to gather around you rather than you running around thinking, what can I do, what can I do, where am I going to go with this?
Thank you.
I think you're going to find that when you start talking, one of the first things you're going to find is that you're not the only one. And there are people out there, you might get a job in this job and then find out that your boss, she might have had serious problems after having a child, like postnatal depression or something like this, and you'll be amazed who you find that knows quite a lot about mental suffering and mental problems. A lot of skill is in finding a place where you feel at home, whether it's in a job or in your home environment or whether it's in a social circle or wherever. Whether you tell people has got to be your final decision. It's your decision. You shouldn't have to, but if you're in a place where there are other people who've experienced problems, you're going to find it very rewarding to be able to talk to these people.
And I think that the question, I posed it for the reason of how difficult it can be, because we've used the analogy of breaking your leg. Have you ever been to hospital? Yes, I broke my leg. You would write that down, but would you not put it in? Because like you say, you don't need to. Would you put in? Actually, I had 6 months off with depression. You'd think about it. You'd think about it, but you wouldn't think about writing a broken leg down, which was my point really, was it is really difficult to just be completely transparent, and that's what we're working really hard to change, so that, because it never ceases to amaze me, we meet lots of people here. Some come in as service users, some are professionals that come in and talk to us, and most people go, do you know what, I get it, I've had depression, or do you know what, 6 years ago I had a bit of a breakdown. Things like this, and the creative side of things, and just being able to talk to somebody. So I'm not just talking about Ipsum, I'm just talking about us all. If you've got somebody that you can talk to, and it doesn't have to be a professional, but you could go for a coffee and just have a chat, even with a lady serving the coffee. You're just talking, you're making conversation. It stops you feeling so isolated.
Isolation is the word. That is the word. If people get too isolated, they don't start to trust almost nobody. You've got to build up trust. And it comes to a point where you're desperate to talk. And when you're desperate to talk, what comes out isn't a real comfortable, relaxed you. But maybe that is a warning to everybody that it's time to really sit back, maybe learn some meditation or read a book or a self-help book, which I used to find very helpful. Think about things, and when you realise, you think you're the only one, you're isolated, there's only me. But that's not true.
Yeah, because a lot of people do hold it inside too much, don't they? They don't want to let it out.
Maybe they don't know how to.
Exactly.
It goes back to having places to go to, doesn't it? Because you're going to get withdrawn if you don't know where to go, where you can feel comfortable about talking to it. And you're going to get to the point where you're manic and in need to get it all out, aren't you? So it's about knowledge of knowing where is available just to have a chat or something.
And it starts with conversation, doesn't it? It starts with feeling brave enough to be able to say, I'm struggling right now.
Practicing talking to people by trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, it doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be a peer necessarily. It could be the person working behind the counter in the shop.
The better you know about it, the more you can combat it. When you first get towards having mental illness problems.
But should it define you as a person, the fact that you, at that point in time in your life, have a mental health issue? Does that define you to say that's who I am? Because it isn't really.
No, it's
try not to dwell on it.
There's more to you than that. More to you than that.
Yeah.
You had a breakdown once. There's a lot more than that. Don't get too angry and don't blame people. That's what I feel. I feel I used to get a bit angry and I used to blame people for what I was going through. But then I decided to take more responsibility for how I was feeling and for the things that had happened and the things that had led to this point. And it was when I felt I was the responsible one that I was really able to do something about it, just because I was expecting myself to solve my own problems with the help of others and advice. But when it came down to it, it was me to change the way I felt, and it was me to change my attitude, and it was me to move forward.
I think that's really key.
That's very interesting.
That is, yeah. And I think, this simple word talk,
Yes.
you know what, it's a small word, but, it's really difficult to be open and talk when you're struggling. It's really, and, we're not talking about labels, and I totally agree with you. You don't need to label yourself, but sometimes you do have to just say, I find myself not wanting to go out anymore. I found myself feeling quite lonely. I didn't talk to anybody for 3 days. Are you able to, how comfortable are we being honest about these things? How easy is it when you see somebody and they go, hi, how are you? You go, yeah, fine. And you walk away thinking, I'm not fine. Because that's what we do. Yeah. That's what we do. And that's why the talking about, ask twice is really key. That's why this time to talk day, get out there, have a coffee morning or do something, go to Ipsum. So I just wonder what you think about how important days like the Time to Talk Day are, where you can go out and you can go and meet friends, or say come somewhere like Ipsum where you're more than welcome to come and see us, come and get involved with our creativity. And I think that's another key thing is, whilst Ipsum is based around talking therapists and creativity, does it make life easier being able to just say come to this music group like we are today, and you don't have to sit and talk about, like you said, how you're feeling, and actually you can just be you, like you said.
So sometimes
you can just be you and be distracted.
Well.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, it's what they call normal. Just doing normal things and not actually mentioning. We all know that we've been here for a reason, that it's based around mental health or whatever issues people have.
I do with my problems, mental problems. I do try to put it aside almost every day at home or in town, anywhere you go in, because it can annoy you too much, and if it annoys you, things can crop up from that, and then build things up, things that build up more, and then you end up getting annoyed about that even more, and then. So
what are the kind of things that you do, Andrew, to sort of do that? You do music therapy and things like that?
I do, yeah. So I go for walks as well to just like clear it out of my head for a while. Yeah.
I found that walking and speaking to people that have suffered from sort of mental illness, that just going for a walk, even if it's just forcing yourself out to post a letter or nip to the shop or something, just that 10 minutes out of your environment where you might be stuck can really help you in the long run if you can manage to do that.
Myself, I feel even still to come along still, I actually have to find new ways to be like that too. New ways to find out how to avoid problems and do that, distract it and decide to take on new things
and finding things that are going on that get you out of the house
and give you an appetite for it. Do things what you like, keep yourself active, and treat your brain nicely, I suppose.
No, I think that's really useful advice. Has anybody else got any other advice on things that they find, like we've talked about walking? What have you found useful?
Just after my father died, I bought a book, and it's a book of short stories.
Right.
So I can read one story in one sitting if it takes 20 minutes. That is about my concentration span for reading anyway. And it's total escapism. It's just silly stories. But it does take your mind off things, and it makes sometimes you can associate with someone in the book. Maybe helps you see a different point of view than from where you're looking at things yourself. Mm-hmm. There comes a time where you're just going to say, yeah, okay, so I've been ill. So I'm not, you've got to look at yourself from your own perspective. You've got to say to yourself, I have achieved some things. So I'm not had a brilliant career. You might have missed out on marriage and kids and all that, but that was my choice.
And this is Nick Cave and the Bad Seas Into My Arms.
You might have missed out on marriage and kids and all that, but that was my choice.
I think of that too. I feel like on the other hand, I could have had a great career. I could have a family by now and all that sort of thing.
Do you think that's what society expects from you? And that puts pressure on you?
Both ways, really. Both ways, I would say.
I think I have
thought deeply about that, about having kids, having a career, staying on your feet all the time.
Well, I've had a career of sorts in my own way with voluntary jobs and little jobs I have had, and studies I have had. But when it comes to women and partners and family, I was in no fit state of mind to bring up kids anyway. And I would have taken a good woman to have put up with some of my behaviour. So I don't really miss that anymore, really. I sort of missed it when I was in my 30s and 40s. What am I doing? Should I not be doing this sort of thing at my age? But when it comes down to it, why not? Okay, I have my friends. I do have lady friends and girlfriends of sorts. Yeah, I do. I've had a few.
John.
But that's a different story.
I think that might be a different conversation.
Might be a different day for that.
Night conversation.
Let's not go there.
Well, yeah.
But no, thank you for that insight.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. So we've talked about reading and walking and maybe just what else?
Trying to improve life with systems out there, maybe make more things work for us. Try and make the government or whatever you can go to. Demand it, ask for more help off the government or whatever you call it, or for help, doctors, psychiatrists, the whole thing, everybody.
I think, in all honesty, looking at it objectively, I think everything is changing. If you look 5 years ago, 3 years ago, it's so different. It is so different. And whilst, yes, I think what you're alluding to is there's still improvements that could be made, because
definitely.
there are.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going in the right direction. Yes. It's definitely going in the right direction.
I know I was repeating it about 6 times. But
No. But you're right, and and I'm just acknowledging that point.
Yeah.
That I think we're getting there, and that's why I think places like here, like Ipsum, are always busy. But there's lots of great organisations within Swindon. There's lots of organisations. Mind do amazing things. You've got the Olive Tree. You've got Twigs. You've got the Platform Project for the under-18s. I could go on. I could name you.
Zane as well.
There's Green Labyrinth down the road. There's lots
Calm.
Yes, exactly. So we've got lots and lots of organisations within Swindon that we just need to shout about a bit more. And we're all coming together collaboratively and trying to get that message out there. But point taken, there is still work to do. But I think if you really look, there is a lot more in Swindon than a lot of people are aware of. And that's, I think, a piece of the work is making people more aware of what they can access.
How do we get involved on the big day then?
So, on Time to Talk Day, which is on what day, boys?
6th of February.
6th of February. what they invite you can literally go on the website, just go on Time to Talk Day, and it will come up. It'll come up with, it says, I'm holding it in my hand actually, and it starts with, would you rather kiss a jellyfish? Which is basically about getting out there and talking about things, and in a fun way, because mental health is a serious subject, but you've got to broach the subject and break the ice somehow. So Time to Talk Day is about everybody out there thinking about, what can I do to start a conversation? Maybe you've noticed a neighbour doesn't come out. Maybe I'll just nip round and say, do you want a coffee? Or shall I have a coffee morning at my house? Shall I go, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to invite a few friends I haven't seen for a while. It's just about instigating and being mindful on that day to talk to people.
Yeah.
That's what Time to Talk Day is all about.
Yeah.
It's just being aware and mindful that maybe somebody has not
being there for somebody else,
spoken to somebody for a couple of days, or maybe they are struggling and you've noticed something in their appearance, or that they've seemed quite isolated recently. Anything. Remember, it's 1 in 4 people that get affected, so we will all know somebody, or we will be one of those people, and let's just try and make a difference on that day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In honour of Terry Jones, who passed away recently. And now for something completely different.
This month's joke section is all in relation to cheese. How do you approach a dangerously enraged cheese? Carefully.
Oh, no.
The history of cheese is full of holes, but it's interesting in its own way.
What a load of rubbish!
Why can't you make clothes out of cheese? Because fromage phrase.
Oh, no.
What surrounded a medieval cheese castle? A mozzarella.
Oh, no.
Why was the cheesemonger's shop so windy? Because of all the breeze.
Oh, no.
A guy drove past me in his car and threw a lump of cheese at me. I thought to myself, that's real mature.
And now, by Ryan, a rap about mental health.
Once I got section and things got peak, trust me, it's definitely my time to speak. But gang, let me get straight to the point. Let me get down to the facts. All them people chatting about mental health are actually gas. These men small in the game like atoms. Me, I'm big in the game like mass. Yeah, I've been sectioned, fam.
This is Cream Teas with Have You Ever. It's a local band who have just formed and they recorded it in a Basement 13 studio late last year.
Slept in a doorway, blanket pulled over your head, no sleep, dreaming of a home, cardboard box for your bed. Have you ever slept in a bin shed to cover yourself from the snow, a concrete floor to sleep on, having nowhere else to go? Life, it starts to drain your soul, just trying to hang on. But there is no way to escape this hole when everything's gone wrong. Like the pain of a million souls trapped inside my head, screaming out, set me free, or at least give me a bed. To walk all night to stop yourself freezing to death, a fantasy world up inside your head, dreaming of better days. Have you ever had to skip beats, too proud to ask for help, struggling every day with physical and mental health? Life, it starts to drain your soul, just trying to hang on. But there is a way to escape this hole when everything's gone wrong. Like the pain of a million souls trapped inside my head, screaming out, set me free, or at least give me a bed. life it starts to drain your soul, just trying to hang on. But there is a way to escape this hole when everything's gone wrong. Like the pain of a million souls trapped inside my head, screaming out, set me free, or at least give me a bed. This life it starts to drain your soul, just trying to hang on. But there is a way to escape this hole when everything's gone wrong. Like the pain of a million souls trapped inside my head, screaming out, set me free, or at least give me a bed.
Back in the dark ages when I used to be in radio, I was in a place called Monrovia with a friend of mine training people how to make programmes. Now Chris was pretty useless. Cooking, forget it. So I used to do all the cooking, but one day he said, I'm going to do chili con carne. So off he went and got all the stuff, came back and started working in the kitchen. I thought, this is dangerous, letting Chris loose. So I went in the kitchen and he was doing the onions. Now he was frying them, but they looked a very strange colour. So I said, Chris, what's wrong with the onions? Nothing. I've done what it says, caramelised the onions, I put a Caramac in. What more do you expect?
Rusty Goat's back again. 365 days. Not that long ago I was in the bottom of a pit. As a rough calculation, it's been 52 weeks, and I have to admit life had never been so tough, and they say all things happen for a reason. A homeless shelter was my temporary address. My state of mental health was in crisis. Decisions were often being made for me, at times completely detached from reality. All the while the world was happening around me, it was almost impossible to accept the facts. Unable to look at my own reflection, my vulnerability stood out, lit up by neon lights. I had to put trust in those around me, those that provided care and support, family, friends and health professionals, and the strangers who held out their hands. Strangers who crossed the same side of the street held out their hands and warmly greeted me. These genuine gestures of generosity were completely alien after a lifetime of using isolation for my own protection. Pointed and steered in different directions, minutes turned to hours and days did unfold, putting trust in the friendships I was building around me, beginning to see that the world was not my enemy. I took control, took hold and began to address and suppress the devils and demons inside. The realisation was a moment of awakening, that the rest of this life is down to me. Well, here I am, and here I stand. I've weathered 4 consecutive seasons. That's 365 days as a rough calculation. And still they say all things happen for a reason. Decisions being made for me, completely detached from reality. Had to watch, had to sit back until I got my life back on track. My fear of rejection needed protection. With a new tack came my resurrection. I picked up the mic and began to ramble, and you'll have to turn the amp off to stop me. And maybe, just maybe, they are right in what they say, that all things happen for a reason.
Hiya, my name's Carol Cassidy, and I've chosen Back in Black by AC/DC, and we're going to go out with a...
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this month's Art and Show show here with Ipsum on the air. While you listen to this, your ears can't look elsewhere. We'll be back again next month on the first Tuesday of the month between 10 and 11 and the first Wednesday of the month between 6 and 7. We hope you've enjoyed the show. That was Back in Black by AC/DC, and next up, ending the show this month, we have a track by Ipsum client Edwin Richards, and he's recorded the track called What's My Name here at the Ipsum Studio Basement 13 in January 2020. Over to you, Edwin.
This world is such a...
Yo.
When I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean in an ideal sense. I mean
Big
it
shout to back.
every day, every little thing you do. It's such a... Gimme.
Ipsum 2020.
Everybody back off. You know, everybody's like you taught that from school, everywhere. Big business. You
Yeah.
want to be successful. You want to be like
You can
Trump.
do it. All you gotta
Gimme,
do is
gimme.
believe.
Push,
Come
push,
on.
Push. Step.
Did the man called Shades of M. X marks the spot and I got a plan. I I got the microphone in my right hand to make you party people in the place understand. I'm original, hot just like dynamite. You rub me up the wrong way, say I will ignite. I'm blow, sucker, blow, sucker, blow, sucker, blow. Sucker DJs out of sight, cause I'm here, yes, ready to tear, see. Ain't got no fear in my body, able to rock any label. I'm standing firmer than a horse in a stable, stabilizing the situation. Welcoming you all to the new groove nation. We're right up your streets to get on the dance floor, time to move your feet. Come on. Yeah, come on. But keep it rocking till the break of dawn. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Say number one, the stamina. You gotta have the stamina to take the microphone and to be ready to attack. When I take the mic, I bust my lyrical format. Sucker DJs, you know I don't pirate. Cause I don't believe in stealing lyrics. I don't take the mic, I don't try to mimic. Imitation ain't for me. Say that I'm a man who loves originality. Come on. Yeah, come on. We keep it rocking till the break of dawn. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. One more time. Because the man called Shades to M. X marks the spot and I got a plan. I got the microphone in my right hand to make you party people in the place understand. I'm original, hot just like dynamite. Rub me up the wrong way and I will ignite. I'm blow, sucker, blow, sucker, blow, sucker, blow. Them DJs out of sight, cause I'm here, yes, ready to tear, see. Ain't got no fear in my body, able to rock any label. I'm standing firmer than a horse in a stable, stabilizing the situation. Welcome you up to the new groove nation. We're right up your streets to get on the dance floor, time to move your feet. Come on.